Guitar intervals, C major, A minor, and related modes. This time looking at the A minor scale, otherwise known as the Aeolian mode, centering around measuring from the A note, which is located third string down from the top of the guitar, fret number 7, and this is part number 2. One of our objectives is to orientate all of our resources in the same direction, making them as easy on the eyes as possible from the perspective of the player of the guitar, who is of course located behind the guitar. Therefore, for example, my guitar will look like I'm playing left-handed, but no, we flipped it around in order to mirror what you're seeing from your perspective of your guitar from behind the guitar. And when we are behind the guitar, we have the fretboard on our left-hand side. We've got the low or heavy string, the one closest to the ceiling up top. Left to right, going towards the body of the guitar. Similarly, orientating our Excel worksheet, where this is representing the low or heavy E string, the one closest to the ceiling. Top to bottom, left to right, orientated as though we just took our guitar and imprinted the strings on the screen. We're now looking at the A minor scale, otherwise known as the Aeolian mode. We're going to be focusing around measuring from this A note and basically look at the circumference around that note that will be constructing the A minor scale, otherwise known as the Aeolian mode. Now let's do a quick recap of the A minor scale and how it is related to the related modes, because part of what we want to learn here is the interval shapes. As we learn the interval shapes and the differences between the interval shapes between the different modes, allowing us possibly to build whatever mode we want to build and see the connection between those modes, possibly making it a little bit easier for us to transition as we're playing seamlessly, fluidly from one mode to another. I'm not saying I do that perfectly. I'm just saying that's like one of the objectives that we can at least think about how it would be possible to do if you can get your fingers to work right. That's another whole part of it. But in any case, so now we're in the major. So we have the related C major scale. We're going to be looking at this shape, which I call position number 1. You might call it a G-shaped C major position, because if you look at the C here, it would be a G shape to construct it, and possibly the most famous shape if it was a pentatonic, 5 notes out of 7, looking like that. If you add the 2 other notes, there's the 7 notes. Just for this top bit of the shape, if we extend all of those notes across the whole fretboard, we get all of these colored notes across the fretboard. Of course, we can move that shape around to play different scales. So if I did that same thing from here, we'd be playing the G minor and so on and so forth. However, we can also think about any of the notes within the scale as our central point, such as the C being the central point, and then we would be playing in essence in a C major. So that's what we want to be thinking about now. I want to really re-emphasize this shape and think of it from all the perspectives of the different modes, allowing us to learn the interval shapes and learn how the interval modes are basically related together. The way we can do that, or the way we learn these shapes or these scales, is 1, we can just learn the shapes themselves and try to memorize the shape as it's compared to possibly the major scale and related modes. We can also learn the formula, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, and so on and so forth. That formula changing on the different modes, same formula, just starting at a different point. So that is useful, although possibly a little bit more difficult to see on the guitar because people get confused as they're moving across the strings, which is another thing we want to be able to do, count through the strings and see how that would work. Remember, on a piano, it's all laid out linearly, so it's a little bit easier to see in that way. There's pros and cons to any kind of instrument, but I'm just saying, so we have that way. And then we have the way of intervals, meaning we're going to take a central point like this A, for example, is what we're doing this time, and measure all of the circumference around it that are in the scale, and that'll give us our interval construction. Also very useful on the guitar because we visualize those shapes as basically components or pieces of the actual chord shapes that we will make. So you'll note as we look at all these relationships, we can think, well, if I add one more note, then I've got a relationship of 3 notes, and I can think about what that relationship means from a chord construction perspective. As we do that, we would like to see it not just from one point of a chord construction. I'd like to be able to look at every note within, say, a triad or a chord that has 4 notes and think of it from the perspective of each of the notes in the chord, right? So if we saw, for example, this chord, which we would name a C major chord, I can also look at it from the perspective of the E and at least understand the intervals as I'm looking at it from the relationship of it being the tonic, being the central point. That helps us to kind of possibly blend things together as we're playing musically, right? So if I'm looking for, anyway, well, that's part of the things that we're going to basically look into. Remembering that in Western music, the major scale is our point of reference typically, although it's just another mode. We call it an Ionian mode. They're all connected together in the same way. It's not like one is more important from a modal standpoint than any of the other ones. We can construct all of them from any of them, but the Ionian, the major scale, is the one that we usually use as our key, our point of reference in Western music. So what we're going to do is learn the intervals for the C major. That's possibly the easiest thing to do to start off with, even for someone like me who basically learned using that shape, which means it naturally put me into an A minor perspective. So I learned everything in kind of A minor just from a shape standpoint, and then had to kind of go back and say, well, wait a sec, I should be using the C major. That's what everybody uses as, the point of reference. So we'd like to learn the intervals this way, and then look at the intervals for the main minor being the Aeolian mode, otherwise known as the major scale, which is the 6th mode, and that'll give us the mode that's kind of most distinct or most different from the Aeolian for the most part, and then we can compare all other modes to the related major or minor, meaning the 1-4-5, which can be thought of as major chord constructions, but also can be thought of as the major modes. The Ionian, Lydian, Mixolydian mode will all be related in that the Lydian and Mixolydian mode, what I call mode number 4 and 5, after the 1-4-5 chord construction, the things that make the major chords, will have one interval difference from the related Ionian mode, which is the major mode, the major scale. And then we know that the other 2 minor modes, the Dorian and Phrygian mode, will only have one interval difference from the Aeolian mode, and then the Locrian's kind of a funny one that has, the minor 3rd and the flat 5th, and we'll touch in on it, but it's a little strange in and of itself. So that's the idea. So if I look at the major scale, we want to think of the minor scale and really memorize it as it relates to the major scales from an interval perspective. So the major scale has a 0 note away perfect 1st, 2 note away major 7, 4 note away major 3rd, 5 note away perfect 4th, 7 note away perfect 5th, 9 note away major 6, 11 note away major 7. What would we expect the opposite of that to be? The minor mode, the main minor mode, the Aeolian mode, the minor scale. We would expect all the minors to be flattened to a minors, and then the perfects to remain the same, meaning we're not going to change the 1st, the perfect 5th, the perfect 4th, the perfect 5th, but you would expect all the other ones would change because we would change the majors to minor, but the Aeolian doesn't change the 2nd for whatever reason. So the 2nd is still going to be a 2 note away major 2nd on the main minor. There is a mode where it's more minor even than the main minor. That's the Dorian. The Dorian's like, you think you're minor? I'm more minor than you are. I got a 1 note away minor 2nd. You're lame. You don't even know what minor is without a 1 note. So that's just the Dorian talking crap to the Aeolian because it thinks it's more hardcore minor than the Aeolian. Anyway, so let's scroll down to the minor scale. So now we've got the minor Aeolian. So remember, I'm gonna call it mode number 6 because I'm gonna number the modes from an absolute numbering standpoint as they relate to the major scale, which possibly will help us to determine of the notes that we have now reordered, which of them we should make a major chord from and a minor chord from, which many people learn only from the perspective of the major scale, meaning 1, 4, 5 major, 2, 3, 6 minor, the 7 the funny Locrian. If we look at the other modes and we name the positions from as a relative position for the modes to the major scale, that could help us possibly to know what kind of chords we create. So on the minor, we have nice and conveniently the 1, 4, 5 in a minor blues are still all the minor modes. So we have the Aeolian, Dorian, and then the Phrygian. But the Locrian is the 2 now, and that means that all the rest are going to be the majors. So that means that the 3, the 4, and the 7 are going to be the major chord constructions or the major modes, which would be the Ionian major scale, Dorian, and Mixolydian, which in relation to the majors would be the 1, 4, 5, right? All right. So now we're going to be moving around this 3-note away minor third, and we're going to look at all the intervals as they relate to this A here, remembering that the minor third is super important. The third is important because that's the distinguishing factor. That's the thing that gives the flavor between a major scale and a minor scale. So this 3 over here means that it's the third in the scale, and this 3 over here is the total distance in half steps, 3 notes away. It's been flattened from the major distance, which is a 4-note away, which is a major third. 4-note away major third flattened gives you the 3-note away minor third. So that's going to be the 3-note away minor third we're focusing in on. From a chord construction standpoint, it's also an odd interval. Therefore, it's in the chord construction named the same way because we skip every other note, the 1, 3, 5. So here's our 3. There's the minor third from a chord construction standpoint. All right, let's look at this A, and then let's look at the same string. If I go up to here, let's use this color over here. That's what I've been doing. We just go 3 notes up, and we get the minor third. So we're here from here to here. Now, where's the major third? The major third is up here. Now, note that you can kind of blend together these, and you get kind of a bluesy feel. Now, normally, like if you're in like an A major blues, for example, then you can kind of go back and forth to the minor and throw in the major and minor. It's a little bit more wonky if you're playing in a minor and then you throw in the major third, right? In other words, if you're thinking of yourself in a major, an A major blues thing, then it's more likely that you're gonna want to throw in the minor. If you're in an A minor bluesy thing, you can try to work in and throw in the A major, but it's a little bit more wonky. It's a little bit harder to kind of go that way. But if you're kind of blending these two together in order to kind of get that feel, then here's the minor, and then you can blend it up into that major third. Okay, so then we can say, all right, let's go above then, and let's go above over here, and we're gonna go to back here. So if I go up one string and I try to think of where's the 3-note away minor third, I want to learn the shape, but I'm going to count it out and then try to learn the shape, right? So it's going to be inverse distance. So if it's a 3-note away minor third, I have to take the inverse distance. If I'm going above the string, 12 minus 3 is 9. So therefore, I'm looking for a distance of 9 notes away. There's a 5-note distance between the strings. I call it -5. And then when I go back, I keep going negative. So -5, -6, -7, 8, 9. So that means, let's count it out from here, -5, -6, 7, 8, 9. So that means if I go from this C to that A, that is a, what is that? That's a 9-note away, which would be a major 6, remembering that if you're looking at a minor interval, the inverse will typically be a major. If you look at a major interval, therefore, the inverse will be a minor. And so if I go from the bottom to the top then, from A to C, that's a 3-note away minor third. So then just from a shape standpoint, if I just try to memorize this, if I go up one string, the 3-note away minor third will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which is down here. This whole tectonic plate shifted to the right, so I can only cross the fault line by going up one string if I'm on the B string. So if I was on the B string like this A, and I went up one string, it's going to be a further distance because notice that this whole thing moved up. So the whole thing here is, if I go up one string, the 3-note away minor third will be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back, unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the B string, in which case, if I go up one string, the 3-note away minor third will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back. All right, let's try 2 strings up. Now, by the way, where's the major third? If I'm here, if you're kind of doing a bluesy thing and you're kind of blending the major and the minor, which is key on that. There's the major third right there, right? So is that right? I think that is. Hold on a second. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, so you can kind of play with that if you so choose. But let's go up 2 strings now. We're going to go up 2 strings, so there we have it. So if I go up 2 strings and I'm looking for the 3-note away minor third, I have to take the inverse distance, which is 12 minus 3, or 9 notes away. So it's going to be -5, -10, and then going this way, I'm going to go up, and so I'm going back towards 0, 9. So let's go from here, -5, -10, 9, boom. If I go from C to A, that would be measuring from the C. It's a 9-note away major third. But that's like you're acting like the top string is the only point of measurement, man. It's not special. I could measure from A, just like they say in physics. There's no special point. You think where you're at is special. But no, you could measure it from the other side. It's like, okay, why don't you open up your mind and like look at it from someone else's, from the other perspective. It's like, okay, then I will do that. If I could do that. If I measure it from the A to the C, then it would be a 3-note away minor third. And that's kind of a cool shape right there because you're kind of on this particular A, you're sandwiching that open A right there. So you got like, if you play this one out, you got 2 A's, and then you got the third, which is kind of like the flavor of the chord. So you kind of, and then you've got the 5th, which is right there. So you can kind of hammer on the 5th maybe. So it's kind of an interesting place to be. And then you've got like the G out here, which is the 7, which is also kind of an interesting sound. So you get that 7, minor 7. Anyway, so but you can also like say if you're going to blend it into the major, then there's the major. So if I'm kind of going in between a major and a minor, and I'm fudging the line of the minor third. You can try to mute this one or not. I'm trying to mute it, not mute it. Which finger would be better? Ring finger. But then it's harder to grab. Then you just got that. Or this one. Anyway, so you've got that, and so let's move on. Let's go down a string. Let's go down to here. So now I can just look for I don't have to look for the inverse distance. We just say it's going to be a 3-note away minor third. So there's -5, 4, 3. Let's count it out this way. -5, 4, 3. So that shape, I really want to know that shape. That's a minor third right there, minor third. Now, I didn't do my other thing where I was, anyways, I'll skip that for now. So if I go here, where's the major third? It's right there. So there's the major third. So again, if you did some kind of bluesy thing, you can go like that, or maybe you use this finger instead. Then you might want to grab that G down here, which is again the 7 with my pinky, boop, 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 boop. Anyway, so then, so that means that if I go down one string, the 3-note away minor third is 2 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on the D string, which would only happen on the G string, in which case we'd be here, and then it would be right there. So the rule is if I go down one string, the 3-note away minor third is 2 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which can only happen on the G string, in which case if I go down one string and cross the fault line, the 3-note away minor third will only be 1 string back because this whole tectonic plate shifted to the right, messing everything up, which messes everybody else up. But we're gonna figure it out. It's not gonna mess me up, man, because I'm putting in the time to see how this fits together. This one's going to be out here. Let's go down 2 strings. So now we're going to be out here. This is going to be 5 and then 10, 11, 12, back to 0, 1, 2, 3. So I know that one's a little bit hard to see out there. Let's see if I can go over just a pinch. So there it is. So now we're going to say, so that one's the furthest distance that it can be. Let's count it out from here. 5, and then up here 10, 11, 12, which brings me back to the octave. 1, 2, 3, which is out here. Boop. So it's almost reachable going this way, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out. That means that it's right in the middle. So you have a perfect symmetry over here and over here, because that's the furthest distance it could be if you can go both ways, because there's only 12 notes and 12 divided by 2 is 6, so you got 6 frets out either way. Now, so that means that if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, then the 3-note away minor third is 6 frets up or back. But if I don't cross the fault line, which would happen on either the E or the A string, because I could still go down 2 strings from either of those and not cross the fault line, then if I go down 2 strings, let's see if I can go from here and go there. Let's do this one. There it is here. So then it would only be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the rule is if I go down 2 strings, the 3-note away minor third would be 5 frets forward, which would be a shorter distance if you didn't cross the fault line. But if you do cross the fault line, then the 3-note away minor third will be, and you go down 2 frets, the 3-note away minor third will be 6 frets forward, which means it will also be equivalently 6 frets back. By the way, you can always think of the inverse distance, which might be part of our routine, I should add, right? So if I'm going 5 frets forward, 12 minus 5 means it would be 7 frets back. The reason I don't really do that is because 7 frets back would be out of reach. Now you might be able, now sometimes you can only do 7 frets back, because if I'm up here somewhere on the guitar, I can't go 5 frets forward. So therefore maybe I have to hold my finger, pick my finger up and go 7 frets back. So it might be worth like looking at that. But my point is on this exercise is that there's always a note that you're looking for in reach. It's always there if you're like somewhere in the middle of the guitar, basically. All right, in any case, let's go down another string and go down to this one. So if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, then we have 5, and then shifting up here to 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. So let's do it from here. 5, shifting up here 10, down to 15. 15 minus 12 is 3. There it is. So if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 3-note away minor third is 1 fret forward. But what if I don't cross the fault line? Because if I was on the top string, I wouldn't have to cross the fault line if I go down 3 strings. So if that happened, then I'd be on the same fret. So the rule is if I go down 3 strings, then the 3-note away minor third will be on the same fret unless I cross the fault line, which is going to happen 2 out of the 3 possible times that I could go down 3 strings, unless we count like going around over the top of the guitar that we're not getting into right now. So if I go down 3 strings and do cross the fault line, which only happens on the D string, then the 3-note away minor third would be 1 fret forward. That's the general idea. Now, of course, we can see the major third would be right there, 1 fret up, because we can flatten it, so you can kind of play with that note if you wanted to, and kind of say, all right, well, there's the C right there. What if I something? I don't know. You can play with it, but in any case, there is that one. All right, let's move on to the next one, but we'll do a quick joke here. Quick joke. It's about happiness, a happiness guarantee, because I got these earphones that were like earbuds, and they gave me a happiness guarantee, which immediately makes the radar go up. It's like, dude, that's ridiculous. How can you guarantee happiness from earbuds? What are you, like God? These are magical earbuds that are going to make me happy? I mean, it's ridiculous. It seems like if you're looking to have a happiness guarantee by giving someone earbuds, you're looking for a lawsuit, you know? Or possibly you're listening for a lawsuit because they're more like listening oriented than vision oriented. You know, I'm a bit paranoid by nature, and generally I use my headphones to listen to crazy politicians, for crying out loud, and that makes me more paranoid. I don't think these things have any chance of making me happy. That's not even, I didn't buy them to make me happy. I bought them to listen to crazy people, for crying out loud. I'm just hoping they don't break. They should try to stop this huge overreach of a happiness guarantee and just go with a more practical and more believable, they won't break guarantee. You know, I probably won't believe that. I don't even believe that, but at least like it's in the realm of belief. At least it's like in the, like a plausible range of beliefs. That's what I feel like. People over there, they're just talking nonsense. It's like the government. They just say, well, we'll just pay for everything or something, or, you know, everything will work out. So that's not how it works. That is not how it works. I don't want to hear this crap, this sunshine, whatever. Okay, I'm done. That's all I got. I don't know. Moving on now to the 5-note away perfect fourth. 5-note away perfect fourth. And if we look at it from a chord construction, because now we're looking at the fourth, which is an even number, we skipped it. So we went from the 1, 3, 5, skipping the 4, then the 7, which is the last note in our scale. And then we go around the horn to a 9 instead of calling it a 2, which it really is. And then we go to the 11, which is going to be equivalent to the 4. So from a chord construction, we might call it a 5-note away perfect 11th. From a scale construction, it's going to be a 5-note away perfect fourth. That's how I'm thinking of it, at least. I'm not getting into octaves here, as you know. And so if it's a perfect fourth, we've seen the perfect fourth multiple times because it's perfect, and therefore one of the things you might think that is that it's going to be in more of the modes. So most of the modes are going to have the same perfect first, fourth, and fifth. Some of them don't, right? I think that, what is it, the Lydian doesn't have a perfect fourth. It's a weird one. I don't play it all that much anyways. I'm trying to not call it weird and give it some attention, even though it has an augmented fourth, which is strange, you know. But I'll try to accept it for what it is. Anyways, so we got a 5-note away perfect fourth. So that's what we're going to be going into here. And the inverse is going to be a 7-note away perfect fifth. So when I say it's 5 notes away, that's the distance in half steps. The perfect fourth represents the position in the scale. And then we could call it, again, 5-note away perfect 11 from a chord construction. Okay, let's say we go on the same string. It's 5 notes, so I could still count that out. It's a shorter distance going up than the inverse behind it. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boom. So there it is. Now notice, of course, if I can go up 5, 12 notes in the alphabet, the inverse would be 12 minus 5 would be 7 back. So if I went behind it, it would be back here. That's going to be harder to reach. But again, sometimes I might not have any room to go up. I might be at the end of the guitar, and if I want to find it on the same string, if it's 5 notes forward, it's 7 notes back, right? You feel me? You feel me, man? I'm going to go, I'm going up a string. Feeling the vibe, the tone, I'm gonna go up a string. So now we're gonna go, if we go up a string and I look for a distance of a 5 note away perfect fourth, I have to look at the inverse distance. 12 minus 5 is 7. 7 note away perfect fifth. These two are inverses of each other. Notice if they made one perfect, they probably, I'm imagining historically, they said the perfect fifth is in every chord and therefore it has a perfect sound and we should call it perfect to distinguish it from everything else. But then when they did that, of course, they have to say, well, wait, the inverse has to then be equivalently perfect or it doesn't make sense because it's the same distance just measured from a different perspective. So you'd think, so then of course these two, both of them have to be perfect, you would think, right? That's how I imagine it happening. So it's going to be -5 between the strings if I go up one, and then if I go back more negative, -6, -7. So that's like a power chord from the perspective of going top to bottom. So -5, 6, 7. From the perspective of a D, that would be a 7 note away perfect fifth. But from the perspective of the A to the D, 5 note away perfect fourth is what I'm thinking about it. All right, and so that means that if I go up one string, the 5 note away perfect fourth will always be 2 frets back unless I cross the fault line. If it's 2 frets back, that also means that it should be 12 minus 2 or 10 frets forward, just to point that out. So right, if I went 10 frets forward, which is way the heck out there, then it would be way out there, right? That's kind of unreachable. But we should always have something in reach if I can go both ways, right? On somewhere in the middle of the guitar. Okay, so what if I do cross the fault line? Well, if I can only cross the fault line if I go up one string if I'm on the B string. So if I was on like the B string, and then I went up because this tectonic plate shifted to the right, it would be a further distance. So the rule is, if I go up one string, the 5 note away perfect fourth is 2 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which only happens on the G string, in which case if I go up 1 fret, the 5 note away perfect fourth is 3 frets back. All right then, let's go up 2 strings and repeat the process. If I go up 2 strings, then I'm looking for a 5 note away perfect fourth, which we could also call a 5 note away perfect 11th. And we have to look for the inverse distance if I'm going above the string. 12 minus 5 is 7. And I also know that the perfect fourth has an inverse of a perfect fifth because the perfects are inverses of each other. And they're right in the middle. They're inversing each other. So it's going to be -5, -10, and then going this way goes back towards the 0. So 9, 8, 7. Let's count it out this way. So -5, -10, 9, 8, 7. Boom. Top to bottom, D to A would be a 7 note away perfect fifth, but if I look at the perspective from the A to the D, I'm thinking 5 note away perfect fourth. So 5 note away perfect fourth, so that means if I go, and so by the way, that means if I go up 2 strings, the 5 note away perfect fourth is always going to be 3 frets forward. So that also means that if I went up 2 strings and I go the other way, it's going to be 12 minus 3, which would be 9 frets back, which I don't have room for. That would be across the fretboard back this way. So unless I cross the fault line, now I could cross the fault line on either the B or the E string. So if I was down here somewhere and I went up 2 strings, then I would be here. So the rule is, because this fault line moved up, if I go up 2 strings, the 5 note away perfect fourth is 3 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, in which case, and that happens on the B and the E string, in which case if I go up 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 5 note away perfect fourth is 2 frets forward. So let's go down a string and see what happens then. So if I go down a string, I'm looking, I don't have to look for the inverse now. It's all, everything is straightforward. If I go down one string, 5-note away perfect fourth is just right underneath it, because that's what 5 notes are. So 5-note away perfect fourth right underneath it. Boom. All right. So that means that if I go down one string, the 5-note away perfect fourth is right underneath it. That means that to get to another one, it would have to be 12 frets up or back, right? Which is kind of a ways, so right underneath it. So that means, unless I cross the fault line, which would only happen on like the G string. So if like I was on the G string, then this tectonic plate shifted to the right, therefore it's going to be up here. So that means the rule is if I go down one string, the 5-note away perfect fourth is in the same fret unless I cross the fault line, which can only happen on the G string if I go down only one string, in which case if I go down only one string and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth is 1 fret forward. Okay, what if I went down 2 strings and crossed the fault line? I'm not scared of the fault line. Yeah, there's a little bit of a crack in the ground. You think I'm scared of a crack? No, I'll step on the cracks. Some people, they try to avoid stepping on the cracks, but not me, man. If I step on the crack, it doesn't even slow me down. I've got like big wheel shoes on, just go right over it, no problem. So if I go down 2 strings, it's going to be 5, and then fault line 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So if I do that, we're going to say, okay, here, 5, 10, 5, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. So if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth is 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back. Now what if I don't cross the fault line? I wouldn't cross the fault line if I was either on the E or the A string. I could still go down 2 strings and not have to step on that crack or over the crack, however you want to deal with that crack, because I wouldn't even have to cross it in the first place. Some people, they're scared of stepping on the crack, so they step over the crack. But then there's other people that just don't even go to the crack at all. That'll just stop them, and they'll say, I'm not even going to go because I might step on it maybe. So I don't know. So here we're going to say then if I go down, so the rule is if I go down 2 strings, then the 5-note away perfect fourth is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets back unless I cross the fault line, which would happen 2 out of the 3 times on the A or the D string out of the 3 possible times that I can go down 3 strings, unless I think about going around the top of the guitar, in which case if I go down 2 strings and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth would be 1, 2, 3, 4 frets back. All right, that was clearly spoken as possible. I think I have. Let's go down 3 strings. If I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line just to finish this bad doggy up, it's going to be 5, and then up here to 10, and then 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, and then 4, 5. Let's count it out this way. So if I'm here, 5, 10, and then 15. 15 minus 12 is 3, 4, 5. Boom, there's the D. So if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth is 3 frets forward. But what if I don't cross the fault line? The only time I wouldn't cross the fault line is if I was on the top string. Otherwise, I would cross the fault line, or there wouldn't be enough strings unless I go around the horn. So if I was on the top string and I go down, so the general rule is going to be if I go down 3 strings, the 5-note away perfect fourth will be 2 frets forward unless I cross the fault line, which happens on the A or the D string, which are the only 2 out of 3 ways you could go down 3 strings, in which case if I go down 3 strings and cross the fault line, the 5-note away perfect fourth is 3 frets forward. All right, let's do a quick joke and wrap this thing up. So let's try this one. So, I had this big bowl one time, and I dropped it, and then I tried to catch it because it was going to shatter on the ground, but I couldn't catch the bowl because it was unstoppable. It was an unstoppable, and then it shattered. on the ground. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. It's like it's like a giant bowl. Everybody's sitting in this huge bowl. And like once the bowl gets going, man, it's like got momentum and it's an unstoppable. It's an unstoppable.